fundamentally people want authenticity, right? And someone that's congruent with their feelings and they can show it, and people smell that shit, right? As I said. So, bringing that into the corporate space now more and more is like needed for that. And obviously, even with my staff, we have discussions about how we better ourselves at communication. We do a lot of like keynotes and panels and stuff for conferences as well. And, in order to, get better at it, I mean, we have to learn these skills, right? You can't be just standing there reading off a paper.
Because anyone can do that, really.
Exactly.
I mean, I'd be curious you've had such a long, varied career. I'd be curious, whether it's here, whether it's overseas, what are some of the common issues that you have seen your average corporate worker or warrior face that I wish these people knew that this is a problem, and I wish they knew that there were solutions? What are some of the common problems that you've seen in your time in the finance world?
I actually, wanted to see people who are like really loving their job, right? And I think that comes from, like having meaning in your life, and then having and then seeing that meaning in your job as well, right? Because, as easy to say I live for the weekends, or I'm looking forward to my retirement to do nothing. I mean, what about your whole fucking other life, right? I mean, that's much longer than your weekend or your retirement, So if they can't find that passion in their job, it doesn't reflect to the productivity, the outputs, or even coming into the office with a smile, right? As you said, like looking people in the eye, because if they're not happy with it, they look down, they look away, they just kind of going through the motions, right? So having that, being able to look inside and find what you really want to do is probably more and more needed now, because as I say, AI is going to replace a lot of that job, right? So if you don't find that passion about your job, you're not going to hold on to it, because you're going to be in the bottom of the list that people and that your employers want to keep you, right? So that's why, like, I worked with a lot of distressed companies, right? The companies that are going through, financial problems. It could be, business performance, and we invested in those business to turn them around. That was my job for like 18 years. And, when you go into these offices, you actually see that, right? Because they know they're going through, tough shit. And you can see in their eyes, their facial expressions, and I used to joke to a lot of people, I even go to the bathroom and see how clean it is. Because if you don't respect your workplace, you're just going to trash it, right? So, so if you see that, and it's like, you definitely know that there's a human problem that's going on. That has nothing to do with just financial problems of the business, right? So you need to fix that first before you can even think about finance and all that stuff. So, I think that's really necessary, in your line of job too, is like when you teach people, be authentic about yourself, and then, take it out and then show it, if they don't, it'll quickly show to them that this job is what you really want to do, right? Because if they can't show that passion when they pitch it to a client or whatever it is, if you're not excited about it, it's not going to come out, right? And then oh fuck, I don't like this job, right?
It reminds me of so there's this thing that I constantly drum into the heads of my students, and it's a really, really simple phrase, if I can share it with you.
Yeah, please.
And it is very simply, when you're interested, you're interesting.
Yeah.
That's it. And it doesn't matter whether it's art, it's life. When you're interested in something or someone, you automatically just become interesting. It's not about you. It really is about serving a greater purpose. It really is about serving the other person in the transaction. It really is about serving the story. It's about really serving the character. It's about really serving the client. How can you be so interested in helping that person solve that problem, or figure out a solution, or tell the story in a way that you are so deeply in tune and invested physically, mentally, spiritually, where all of you is that's when you become so immensely interesting. And I'm really, really hoping that moving forward we figure out how not just your artists, but also the person who is maybe going to listen to this podcast, who's sitting at their desk at lunchtime, like miserably eating their poke bowl or whatever it is, thinking,
or in the MRT,
they're thinking to themselves, I'm just fucking miserable.
Mm.
When did that happen? Because I don't think anyone goes into their jobs thinking, I cannot wait to be miserable.
Yeah.
At one point, they were deeply excited and passionate.
Yeah.
Where did that interest die?
Mm.
How can they find the game in it again? How can they be interested in it again? And maybe that job is not for them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something else. Maybe it is, can we get to a place where wild idea, maybe it's not in the world of commerce. Maybe it's tilling the land again. As crazy as that sounds, death of a salesman. I don't want to be in the office. I want to till the land like I be with the wild horses.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. But how can we get people to be deeply interested and invested again? And what we will have when we have people who are interested is you immediately solve the problem of absence in the workplace, mental and spiritual absence in the workplace. You immediately solve this lack of emotional connection because, as you said, people who are there, who will survive the rise of the machines, are there because they are deeply passionate about what they do. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. And yeah, exactly. And I agree with you 100% on that. And I think that's the way of like how human beings have to be, right? Because, you know, now we're talking about so much about spirituality and happiness in life and what that means. You know, people don't really think about what happiness actually is, right? I mean, they think it's like coming in the form of a butterfly or a bird and kind of landing on you. And like all of a sudden you're happy. No, you have to fucking do it yourself.
Right.
You have to make that option.
Correct.
To be happy.
Correct.
And then you have to eliminate all the crap that you don't like out of your life.
That drains that energy from you.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And if one of those eliminations is your job, then there's a problem, right? You got to find something that you want to do and hope that it makes money, right? But still have to, even if it doesn't make that much money, right? You still have to be, valuing that over, the stress, the negativity that comes with it in your life, right?
How do you find those coping mechanisms if that's your only way out? There's a philosopher who's now since passed on, Alan Watts, and he's got these beautiful audio clips that you can find hours and hours and hours of footage on YouTube on. And one of my more favorite ones is if money were no object. And so he poses this question to his class. If money were no object, what would you want to be? What would you want to do? If you could do anything in the world, you could be anything in the world. They want to be poets. They want to work in the fields. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to be artists. They don't want to slave away at a desk. And then you go, but the world says any of these occupations I mentioned are not real jobs. And then his answer to that is, well, if you put in enough time, money, effort, energy into that thing, and you become a master, whatever it is, cheese maker, if you become a master in that, at some point, at some time, someone's going to pay you for that.
Yeah.
And all the more, they're going to feed off your passion and your interest in that. And your passion and interest will sustain you in that job, that eventually you will make that money. But to be able to convince yourself to be miserable at a job that barely gets you enough money so that you can look forward to a retirement, so you can look forward to that weekend, to then breed a whole new generation of people who you tell your kids, your grandkids, that the only way you can be happy is to actually be miserable and to chase money that you don't really, you're told that you want, to build a lifestyle that really is only there to plug the gaps of how miserable you are Monday through Friday. What a miserable fucking vicious cycle that is.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that sort of thinking is well ahead of its time, because what he's essentially saying, if you ask me, is how do you find your ikigai a little bit?
Exactly.
You know,
totally.
and whether it's the arts or whether it's commerce, where are you putting your interest at the end of the day?
Future Design Podcast.